teachers of Reddit, what's the funniest answer you've gotten from a student that technically wasn't wrong? Phys ed teacher here. I always wear shorts teaching. Parent teacher conferences roll around. Grade 1 student comes up to me with her parents. Mr. Famous 1187. I've never seen you wear pants before. I've never responded quicker to a comment before in my life to clear that up. Reminds me of when my wife worked in an undisclosed location women's shelter. My daughter wanted to see where mommy worked, but we could never go. I was picking up my daughter from school when she said, in the middle of the crowded school hall, "Daddy, can we finally go visit mommy in the shelter?" This reminds me of my nephew. When he was about 3, we dropped his mom, my sister, off at work, where she met a colleague outside, and went in with him. Back at home, my nephew reported to everyone that he'd seen mommy go away with a man. My first grade class was learning the word powerful. Kids came up with examples of powerful things and people, like elephants and Superman. Then one boy said, "Babies are powerful because they can cry and get whatever they want." You found the big brother. Teacher, I need a pencil. Where do the pencils live? I have a bucket of sharpened pencils for them to use. Pennsylvania. This kid is going to be a great dad. Please tell me you put a sign saying Pennsylvania on the bucket. I'm a teacher in Canada. Told the kids to name me 5 US states, and their O could go out for recess first. Boy raises his hand and says rattlesnake. What? Oh, snakes. No, states. Name 5 states. Same kid. T-bone? You're naming steaks? States. Resource teacher was in the room and we were crying laughing. I'm a white guy teaching ESL in Asia. My students were tasked to complete the simile. The old man's hair was as white as blank. One student asked if she could write down my name. I hope you allowed it. Teaching English to middle schoolers in Korea, asked, "Okay, what's another way you can express surprise in English?" After going over expressions like, "No way, are you serious? Are you kidding me?" Kid yells from the very back of the room, "What the frick?" I did the same thing when I was little and still not fluent in English. Teacher said, "Which phrases can you make with beat?" She was looking for something like beat up or beat at. I was reading a lot of stuff in English on the internet and said, without thinking much, "Beat the crap out of." So proud of such a long phrase I had achieved. I was sent out of class. ESL teacher. I had my students do an activity where they had to give directions based off of map and situations I had chosen. The final question was more complex, and one of my students wrote, "Way too difficult, take a cab." Yeah, I had a smart aleck do something similar in my directions class. Me, how do you go to the bookstore? Student, use Uber. Funny the first time, less so the next 7. I've taught English in Korea and Japan, and while maybe not that funny, one student who wanted to say something like afterwards, or in the end, wrote the after was here. I stopped for a moment and just stared off into space after reading that. I tried so hard, and got so far, but the after was here. It doesn't really matter. Teaching English in Korea going over vocabulary words. Dozen. Egg family. Same kid. A month or so later. Evolution. Monkey level up. Reminds me of an anecdote I heard in another thread. A Asian guy was grocery shopping in America, but couldn't remember the English word for chicken. To remedy the situation, he grabbed an egg, walked up to a cashier, held up the egg, and asked where his mother. As someone who once stood at a butcher shop mooing at the meat in an attempt to get them to understand I wanted to buy beef when I didn't know so much as the word cow, I totally respect this dude. I teach ESL in a university in China. The topic in class was the effect of sleep on study. After introducing the phrase pulling an all-nighter, I asked the students to give some advice on how they can stay awake in class after they pulled an all-nighter. Student, take some cocaine. Me, give student an odd look, excuse me? Student, yes, you know, like in Coca-Cola, coffee, tea. Me, pauses for a moment, now understanding what exactly he meant, but prompting him, cocaine? Student, realizes what he has done. Oh crap, I meant caffeine. One time when I was 5, sitting in the car with my mom, and Eric Clapton's Cocaine comes on the radio. Excitedly, I tell her mom, "This is what Dad and John do in the backyard." She freaked, obviously, and my dad was like, "Yeah, she thinks that song is about croquet." On a 3rd grade Charlotte's web quiz, give 2 pieces of evidence that support this statement. Charlotte was a good friend to Wilbur. She comforted him, and she didn't let him become pork. You know what I don't get about that story? Why is the pig the one who becomes famous? The real news is the freaking super genius spider who knows how to think critically and write in English. Who cares what it thinks about the pig? I want to know its thoughts on the origins of reality. Thank God we don't live in a world where talentless pigs hog the limelight. You actually just made me rethink the intended message of that story. Elementary school kid saw the answer key. He swore he came up with answers may vary, all on his own. What's sad is we had to grade a 1st semester chemistry test once at university that was made for the medical students. I don't remember if the medical students were at 1st semester too. They just took the test together with the 1st semester chemistry students, but had an alternative version anyway. Thing is, the grading sheet with the right answers was leaked beforehand. One student wrote the correct answer down and then wrote 1 point for every correct formula underneath. How do you finish school without walking in front of a car if you are that damn stupid? In high school, classes were in Spanish. A teacher was angry about people copy-pasting online material for homework. She claimed one essay even contained a click here if you want to know more about Tutankhamun. One of my classmates started laughing, and the teacher told him, "You shouldn't be laughing. You didn't even realize your essay was in Portuguese." I wish I was making this up. I asked a 3-year-old what love was for a Valentine's Day card to his parents. His response, "Maybe love is what tornadoes need." We call him the professor because he teaches us new things every day. I've got a story from my fiance's childhood. They were testing her intelligence or awareness and showed her an image with a TV in a room. The TV was turned on, showing a cartoon, and had a plant on top of it. Question: what's on the television? Answer: a plant. Apparently she just kept insisting in utter frustration until the administrator bothered to look at the image and not the answer sheet. Reminds me of a friend's story. I don't know about public schools, but for sure at private schools you get a little quiz type test with a teacher before they confirm you're ready for kindergarten. One of the things he had to do was identify pictures. He aced the section except for the picture of the airplane. He looked and thought hard and then burst into tears saying, I don't know what that is." Turns out his dad worked for Boeing and he was trying and failing to discern exactly what model plane the super generic picture was depicting. "Why are you late? The bell went off before I got here." "Why are you late? I had trouble with my bike." "What was the trouble?" "I didn't get on it early enough." This is intentional, but I teach a foreign language, and so when I introduce the word for I don't know, I call on a student who typically gets answers wrong and ask them to translate the word as if he or she should know it. When the student inevitably responds, "I don't know," I tell them they're right, and the look on their face is always priceless. This happened to me when I first started learning Spanish. We were learning question words and my Spanish teacher asked, "What does calle mean?" 0312, while I wasn't paying attention, and I only heard the 0312 part. So I said, "What?" And she was like, "Very good," and just continued on with the lesson. I took a very short introduction to Mandarin class and the teacher asked me to recite the vowel sounds. I couldn't remember the sound for you, so I just said up and was apparently correct. Not a teacher, but someone told me this. "What side of the road do people in France drive on?" "Miss, they drive on both sides." Oh man, this reminds me of the time I tried to find an elevator at the Louvre. I found one, but it only went to lower levels, and I was trying to go up a level. I saw some museum employees and asked if they knew where there was an elevator to go up. They took me to the same elevator. I was confused and asked, "But does it go up?" They were like, "Yes, elevators go up and down," rolled their eyes and walked away. College professor teaching developmental psychology. At the end of the semester, I asked all the students to write down the most interesting or important thing they learned. One wrote, babies are stupid and old people still have sex. It's not wrong. Kinda covers the lifespan. That might have been me. The stupid baby or the sexy elder person. Stupid sexy elders. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing for more videos like this. Don't forget to leave your stories in the comments below.